Hello everybody and welcome to This Nintendo Life episode 318. My name is NBZ and I am here with only one television in my house, so I now have 4 screens total running, which is, you know, probably the amount that I'll end up with in the end, so that's all good. It's
4 is a good number.
4's a decent number. I've got a dual monitor set up for my PC that I record my podcast on, as well as do other things like play Overwatch on here, because I'm not being a filthy casual on controller in the living room. Although I did do that once with you, because we did try doing online where I played with controller, and it was not going well, I have to say. I was like, oh shit, I'm not very good at this.
I gained a lot more respect. He was like, wow, Bally puts up with this.
He does, yeah. He has to deal with this trash the whole time. So no, yes. My PC setup it's nice to have like that double option, basically. I actually found a distinct difference as well, because I was playing Paranormal this morning in the living room, and it's really good on the big screen with the textures good size and everything, and just feels like very natural. And when I tried playing it on my monitor, because I booted it up in here, because at the moment there's no curtains in the living room, and so between the hours of around 1:30, maybe 2 p.m. and 4 p.m, the sunlight casts itself over my sofa in a way that I can't really sit there and look at the TV.
Got the sofa, you've got the TV. You just returned the 65-inch without a car to Costco, which I'm very impressed by, MBZ. That was a great story you told me. And now the sunlight is getting in the way. That is just... It's
the sunlight, so yeah. There's always another thing, you know. The setup is never perfect until it is. And so there's still a long journey to go for me to get because I'm still on this fucking Costco desk for this setup. So still many things to buy and things to do.
You'll get your setup perfect, and then that summer heat is just going to hit, and you'll be like, right, what do I need to do to this flat to get it cooler? Yeah. And then, it's just one thing after another.
Well, I have been, I turned off the heating completely because, it's good insulation here. It just stays good temperature, so I don't really need it on, and I save money on that, basically. So, yeah, that's all off at the moment.
Nice.
Anyway, sorry, circling back around to why I was talking about the sunlight. Basically, I moved into the bedroom to play Paranormal to continue playing it on the monitor, and... the text is too big for how close I am to the monitor, and so I wasn't actually enjoying the experience on my PC. And so then I was picking up my Steam Deck. I was like, this is perfect now. So I went through 3 different ways to play Paranormal.
Then you thought, screw all this, it's time to play Boktai with the sun. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it, baby. I'm gonna, one day we gotta play. Maybe it's a Backlog Club idea. Yes. Boktai, let's do it.
Boktai. That'll be like the weird Nintendo announcement after Virtual Boy.
Yes. Kojima partners again with Nintendo to re-release a dual collection of Boktai 1 and 2. Yeah, that would be very, very fun.
For people who don't know what Boktai is, MBZ, what's Boktai?
It's a game that Kojima made when he was bored in between Metal Gear games. I actually don't know what you do in Boktai. All I know is that it's powered by the sun, the real sun, as in the cartridge that you bought for the game. If you took it outside and charged it with solar energy, it would affect stuff within the game. So yeah, I do need to look in more into Boktai. But
I have a feeling it's a bit kind of top-down Zelda-y RPG-ish kind of game, is my guess. I
think it has a bit of that vibe for sure. Yeah. So anyway, it's another thing to throw on the pile for potential Backlog Club in the future is Boktai. But anyway, yes, I do have at least, like I said, enough screens in this household to jump between options and decide what is the best approach here for me to play a certain video game. So it's nice. I've been playing some stuff on the big TV and the small TV called the Steam Deck, so lots of different jumping between screens, which is good. Cool. Well, here we are today to talk about some more video game things on this very show. Bally, would you tell the fine folks at home what they're in for today?
For the first segment, we're going to talk about the games that we have been playing, and second segment, we're going to go to some emails.
Yes, indeed. So let's kick things off. Bally, Yes. You have been playing a video game that seems has taken over the world, at least everybody who owns a Nintendo Switch 2. I have not yet, between GDC travel and everything and lots of other games happening, I've decided to sit out for the moment, but let me tell you, I've been very tempted. Lots of people at my work have been like, I bought a Switch 2 for this thing, and I'm like, okay, wow, it's spreading, it's happening. So, Bally, there's a new game from a series that has, it's seen better times. Pokemon series. They've done a video game, a spin-off called Pokopia, they call it. So yeah, you decided to pick this up.
Yeah, I am playing Pokopia. I'm having a really good time. I'm about 12-ish hours in, which in the grand scheme of things is really not that much time, to be honest. So we've had guests last couple of weeks, and there's also this other sickness that I have called Overwatch that is like taking over my life. We were just talking about that, MBZ. So like when I'm not addicted to Overwatch and playing that game, I have been playing Pokopia.
Yeah, when he's not playing Overwatch, he's actually watching videos about Overwatch instead, and then he's listening to podcasts about Overwatch, and then I don't know, fucking data analyzing himself, like spreadsheets, whatever. It's all good.
I watched a video on YouTube that did a breakdown of all the references to Blizzard lore in the stage Blizzard world.
That's fun. Okay, yeah, that's the how deep this is going. So yeah.
But yeah, Overwatch aside, Pokopia, I'm having a really good time. I think it's actually a really nice game to just check in with and play half an hour, 40 minutes here and there. I've not currently gotten like the bug where like, right, I'm just going to play this for 3 hours straight and just water the entire world and do all these crazy things. I'm not vibing with it on that level. I think it's much more enjoyable for me personally to just like check in, because what you're doing predominantly is building things and creating habitats. All these things take time. So like, when you get a construction going, like it takes real world time for these things to happen, especially the bigger constructions take a day. So like you got to come back to your game a day later. And likewise, habitats, you will construct habitats, create them, whether that's grass or put it by a pond or shift this chair into place to light a candle. There's a million types of habitats. But you create the habitat and then you leave it and you come back to it, and you, depending on how rare the Pokemon is or what the type of habitat, this kind of thing, Pokemon will appear in that habitat. So I think the way I've been playing it has actually been quite satisfying, just like dip in here, dip in there, making steady progress. I'm in the second area. I think there's 4 areas in the game, and I also believe that you can do like the second or third area in different orders. So I think most people actually go to this area I'm in as their third area, not the second. So I don't actually know what the other 2 areas are.
Are you blocked off in a way from like other parts of the world? Because it sounded to me like it was very open in nature, in that you can kind of run around this whole space, this kind of overworld.
It's open zone. So like the world is divided up through, if you think back to like Kanto, like there are like buildings that divide routes at certain points in that game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like.
Yeah. Where you go through and like you're going down the biking route, right, and then you come out into what's this? Is at the bottom of the where Koga is at the bottom.
Yeah. Fuchsia City.
Fuchsia City, and you have to go through the little kind of cubby area in order to get.
So they have those in this game. So
I see,
and you can't access them.
Do they have like someone who's stopping you, who is saying like you need this badge to go through, but in this case something else, right?
Yeah, I can't remember what you need to go through. I think you just have to like build the Pokemon Center in that given area, and then you can basically advance to the next area. So
right,
yeah,
okay.
and the Pokemon Center, that's like the main thing. So you must have seen the memes about like, let's make it humid. so like that's the theme for the first area, is we've got to make this place humid because we need Slowpoke to do his rain dance. And okay, the reason for getting your Slowpoke is you need a Slowpoke first of all. You get the Slowpoke.
Okay.
Now to basically there's a decrepit Pokemon Center, and you've got to get a Pokemon that can clear the space. So what's a good Pokemon that can clear the space? I think that it's one of the abilities. All the Pokemon have like different abilities. So some of them are very good at building. Some can help you grow your plants faster, like a Bulbasaur, for example. But there's also one, it's not called Deconstruction. It's called like, I can't remember what it's called, but basically their job is to like sweep away the old Pokemon Center to make space so you can build a new one. You go off on like a little mini quest and go and find an Onyx. The Onyx can't get out from this cave that you find it stuck in. So you need to make it wet so that the Onyx can slide out of this cave. Like that is the logic. It's bizarre. So then you get a Slowpoke, because Slowpoke can make it rain. But Slowpoke can only make it rain when the atmosphere is humid enough. So then you're like trying to create all these like ponds and waterfalls, and you can like Minecraft style pickaxe into like the sides of mountains and hope that water comes out, and it's really cool. Like all that stuff is really good. And then so once you got the water, something else happens, and like there's legendary Pokemon involved and all this cool stuff that I won't spoil, that I think is very cool. And I'm having a really good time. I think that I've always said that my biggest issue with a game like Animal Crossing is I need a goal, I need a structure. I'm not very good at creating my own structure and goals, and this game is absolutely perfect for someone like me who loves all the cuteness and building and step-by-step process of a game like Animal Crossing, but needs a bit more structure, needs more missions. And this game is just full. This game has like a mainline linear mission you can do. There's tons of side stuff you can also do, but it has main things you need to tick off to progress the building of these Pokemon centers in the key areas, and progress to the next area. And I'm kind of making my area neat and tidy and clean and looking good, and it looks decent. I'm not going to like this crazy next level of, oh, I'm going to completely make this whole area beautiful, and it's going to have this, and it's going to have these palm trees. And like, I'll do a bit of that, but there's not actually too much of that relates to the direct goals, as it were. So
yeah, also sounds like beating the game opens that stuff up even more. And so if you do want to go hardcore decoration with it, then it's actually better to mainline through to get that stuff unlocked, and then spend as much time as you want doing the whole island and kind of changing everything as you go, basically.
Yeah, and honestly, like the game goes from like, here we're learning how to cut grass and grow grass and chop wood and punch this, and it goes from that to, okay, now the world is huge and open and there's all this space to explore, and it's all dry and you have to water it all, and you've got to do all, and it's like, oh my, it goes from like, this is very bite-sized, and I think Bally Jr. would love this too, oh my god, this would melt his brain, kind of like, there's just so much you can do. Like, I think if you're someone who feels very completionist and like, I have to do everything, and I have to do everything the second they offer me the ability to do that, I think you will drive yourself crazy playing this game. Like, I think it's important to go with the flow a bit, and even if you do want to do everything, wait until you have more abilities, because, for example, making it humid, making it rain, all of a sudden, a lot of these areas that you thought it was important to water every single space, it's going to rain. It's going to be fine. Like, you don't need to water every single space.
How do these abilities work? Are these things you're getting from other Pokemon? They're teaching you moves and then you're using them. How does that work in like from a functionality perspective? Because I can imagine if you're learning like 50 moves from all these Pokemon, then using them at each point in time might be cumbersome if it was from a menu, for example.
So there's two types of abilities. I can't remember the different names, but one type of ability is basically a Pokemon teaching Ditto how to use that ability. So early in the game, Hitmonchan will teach you like Rock Smash. So now your Ditto, pretending to be a human character, can punch rocks, and that's basically how you break down these Minecraft style rocks. And
is that contextual based on if you're standing next to it, the option will just pop up, or is it I have to equip this move to myself so I can then use it?
You've got like a scrolling wheel that you can adjust with like L and the D-pad, sorry, and then you use with ZR. So like you can switch between Rock Smash or grow grass. You learn that from Bulbasaur. Like he can make you...
Does that get to like a Echoes of Wisdom style, like you have an extremely long bar of things and options to go through, or so far as it seemed like more limited?
So far I've got about 5 or 6 of them, and it goes from like something you scroll through to an actual like ability wheel, like a Spider-Man or whatever. Like it's that kind of wheel, so it becomes easy, because the other type of ability Pokemon have is like, you can call over that Pokemon to come and help you do this thing. So for example, Bulbasaur has 2. So one of them, he teaches you how to grow grass, and that's the ability that Ditto themselves can use to grow grass. And growing grass is important in creating lots of different types of habitats that require grass. But Bulbasaur, you can also call over to your plants that you've just planted the seeds for, and he can help grow plants faster. Because if you're like, it takes a while for the plants to grow, and then once the plants grow, the habitat's created, and once the habitat is created, and you need to then wait for the Pokemon to appear, Bulbasaur can like speed up that process a bit. And other Pokemon like Oddish and Gloom, for example, and Ivysaur have the same ability. They can make stuff grow faster. So if you have multiple Pokemon that all have this grow ability, You can bring them all over, get them to grow your plants faster, and kind of speed up the process of creating habitats and getting more Pokemon that fill your Pokedex. Because filling your Pokedex and getting more Pokemon speeds up. There's a PC outside every single Pokemon Center that you're trying to regenerate, and you go to the PC and there's all these mini goals of like, pick up this many sticks, pick up this many rocks, discover this many Pokemon in this area, and improving that opens more items in the shop. Then once part of the challenge of like regenerating the Pokemon Center, and part of the challenge when I was trying to like make it humid, was you needed your level for the area to improve. Now the level for the area is dictated by the number of Pokemon you have in that area and habitats and them living in there, and the happiness level that they have. So it is important that you can just like walk up to any old Pokemon that is living in one of your habitats like Bulbasaur and say, hey, Bulbasaur, how can I make your habitat, your home, nicer for you? And Bulbasaur might be like, I want a bed. And then you're like, right, I'm going to go and build a straw bed, stick that beside Bulbasaur. He enjoys the bed, and then my level just goes up a tiny bit. And like you do that for lots of different Pokemon, discover more Pokemon, and that helps you progress and get through, build the Pokemon Center and move on to the next area. Like it's all part of the progress. So yeah, it's cool.
It sounds like, it's kind of broken down into lots of bite-sized things that you can do at any given moment. And like,
it's a very good, I want to play this for 20 minutes kind of game.
Right. But it does feel like the carrot on the stick is there if you did want to just keep playing. Because I've heard some people say that there is some time-limited stuff in the similar way to Animal Crossing where you have to come back after real-world time to do stuff. But it feels like it's not fully gated in that way, and that you can keep playing and doing stuff and achieving stuff while waiting.
There's always something you can do. Totally. Yeah. So the most gated stuff are the large buildings. They take a day. So whether that's building the Pokemon Center or building a house or another type of house, the biggest structures take, I think it's 24 hours, but or someone also said maybe there's like a day in a time in the clock where once it ticks over, it all resets. So I think if you choose to build a house at 2:30 a.m., it like is built by 3 a.m. or something. Not that I've played it at that time of day, but like that's kind of one other thing you can do. But there's always something to do because we're just kind of like vibing a lot with this game and kind of like I'll explore a bit, but also while I'm exploring, there are these little kind of hint things that will be glowing, and when you go towards the hint thing, it might say like, oh, we've picked up the scent of a Pokemon, and then it goes okay, and then it goes into your habitats dex. I can't remember what it's called. You got a Pokedex and you got like a habitat dex, and the habitat dex will appear and it'll show you like a habitat, and it'll say like, if you make this habitat, this Pokemon with the silhouette, there's a chance they'll be attracted to that. And so each habitat has a number of Pokemon that would be attracted to that one habitat. So you know that, right, I'm going to make 8 flowers in a row. So I was like, okay, I'll make 8 flowers in a row because I really want an Ivysaur. And then I do 8 flowers in a row and I get a Vespiquen. And it's like, oh, great, cool. So I didn't get the Pokemon I wanted. But then I've created another 8 flowers and it was an Ivysaur. So I've never had a duplicate of any Pokemon. If you
oh really? Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Like, are there multiples here, or are you evolving ones into other ones, or is it just like there's one of every type?
I've not manually evolved any Pokemon, but I swear that the Slowpoke from the first area when I came back is now a Slowbro, unless I'm completely forgetting like finding a Slowbro or creating a habitat for a Slowbro, because you have to go back to the habitat and it appears, I believe, before it'll just start walking around the world. But yeah, so the meat and potatoes of the game mainly, and what makes it unique, I think, is the creating of habitats. And then, because you can really min-max it and be like, right, I can see 6 silhouettes of Pokemon for like standard 2x2 grass. And you can do that in like the first area. You get the ability from Bulbasaur, create grass. I like created little pockets of grass all over the world. Some of them, like, Pokemon never come. They're like reasons I don't really fully understand, that like this area was too close to this, or it was bumping up on this, and like there are reasons why certain habitats just never get Pokemon in them, and then otherwise you can get a Charmander, a Bulbasaur, Squirtle. They all like the 4 2x2 grass. There are some Pokemon that like different multiple habitats, so like they have different favorites. So like it's really cool that you can just like go around the world, and because often you can create like go and collect items that you bring back and can create a habitat in the space that you like. For example, Cubone, I think, is like, right, you need a gravestone and 4 flowers around the gravestone, and that's like a habitat that Cubone and Marowak will like. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. And I was walking around the world and I go to like the top of this cliff and I see a gravestone. I'm like, I'll be having that. So I just like pick up this gravestone that's at the top of this cliff.
Could be someone dead. Could be a dead person for all you know. Yeah.
Bring it back down the mountain. Create a nice little grave with the 4 flowers, and sure enough, I got a Cubone in a couple of days later. And it's just like, that was a bit. Well, the whole lore behind Cubone is just so awful.
It's very dark.
And like it's so unbelievably dark that it's very strange. But
I guess that's part of the contextual nature of what's going on here as well, right? Because I've heard some stuff around the story about people saying, you know, it feels post-apocalyptic. There's no humans left. It's like a world where it's just Pokemon. And so, like, what kind of sense have you gotten from that so far? Is it engaging you? Because I've heard a lot of people talk about the writing of this game being really good.
It feels, the writing is very good. The little chit chats with Pokemon never get old. Sometimes the gifts they give you are a bit lame. They'll be like, "Oh, I'm so glad you found me this habitat, and here's a stick." It's like, great, I've got 50 million of those. But anyway,
right.
The sense for the world, I love it. It's eerie, but it's strange. So there's no people here, and the world is just empty initially. It's just you, the Ditto, and your Professor Tangrowth. Now, everyone kind of remembers that there were people once upon a time. And I think the Tangrowth was a Tangler before and was the Tangler of a professor. So that's why he's Professor Tangrowth. He's like the professor of this world.
You want to know something that I've just realized that's really, really cool about that notion is, you know, in Pallet Town, the little patch of grass, if you get surf and eventually go back to Pallet Town and you surf all the way down to Cinnabar Island, right?
Yeah.
There is a little patch of grass on the right-hand side there when you use surf to go down there. You know what Pokemon you find in that grass specifically?
Tangela?
It's Tangela, yeah.
Oh, I remember that. You're right. That is, yeah.
So Tangela has always been around Pallet Town.
And I think Tangela is a fairly rare Pokemon. Yeah, and that's like one of
It's really hard to find there, yeah, but it's the one spot in the game that you can find it consistently. And so I guess narratively, because... you know, there's people said a lot of stuff about this game of like, oh, it's maybe Kanto, but like in an era after people have been wiped out by some ecological disaster or something, which is very cool because I think, you know, there's obviously going to be lots of nods and references there. But that specifically, I was like, this makes
cool.
It's really cool, the care and attention to detail that's been paid through something like that specifically. Right?
Yeah, and I've everyone's talking about how this is basically Kanto. I don't think that's too spoilery. That's very much out there. And the more you kind of work out locations, you can then discover things. Like I found something that made it clear, oh, this was the Fuchsia City gym. And then I've gone somewhere else and says, oh, this is the Vermilion City gym. Is it
laid out like Kanto is, as much as you remember, or does it feel like a bit of an amalgamation?
I can't get I would like to look at an original Kanto map and try and get my bearings, and I'm very convinced it's all linked up one to one. And I think,
because I can imagine there's someone out there already who has fully recreated the entire map.
I think based on like what you've said about the Tangler, and they are going attention to detail, I would not be surprised if the Minecraft style blocks end up being 1-to-1 with red and blue. I genuinely
in terms
think
of tile placement,
I think there is a possibility. Maybe I'm completely off on that in terms of scale,
right?
But like, I wouldn't be too surprised if that was the case. Like, I think they've,
or it could be like 4-to-1. You know, like it could be a similar ratio.
Sure, yeah. But to scale, yeah. No, exactly. I think they are going down that path, and I have no idea where the people are. I don't know, but I love the apocalyptic setting. I love that you get to this area. It's completely dry and barren, and you are just working away, making these habitats. More Pokemon are coming, and it genuinely like comes to life. Like, I'd love to see like a sped up camera of the first area that you were just like growing and creating more, like bringing life back to the trees, watering this, punching that, creating roads, rebuilding roads, streets, fences, making it all look neater. And what I love is that every time you get to a new area, which I've only done once, of course, but like, it's very satisfying seeing this mess that you're just like gradually, systematically cleaning up one by one, step by step.
Oh God, is this a fucking cleaning game, Bally? Is this like, is this going to fulfill my power wash needs?
A lot of it is, for sure. I mean, the area I'm in has like this mucky garbage style gunk that you can't move, and I was just assuming like, oh, I bet this is like a habitat for a muck or a grime or something. And
right, yeah.
Sure enough, I think that might be the case, but it's also like you can clean it away, and you can get a little Piplup that I've got. He's my pal. He follows me around, and he can.
Oh, I love Piplup.
And he can come and clean all that sludge from your paths and things. So like, it's just stuff like that. It's all busy work. It's cute. It's Pokemon. It's, you know, it's very Animal Crossing in many ways. Obviously, it's the same makers as Dragon Quest Builders, and I've not played that game.
Yes.
You've played a bit of that game, MBZ.
I played about 35 hours of Dragon Quest Builders 2. I don't think I ever...
Oh, Jesus. I thought you were about to say minutes.
Yeah, I don't think I ever talked about it on this podcast. Maybe I did. But yeah, I played a lot of that game. I think the thing that stopped me with that game was... Dragon Quest Builders a lot more Minecraft, I would say. The Animal Crossing stuff less so in that game. It's far more about building up places and having blueprints for specific things that you're building,
right.
And getting the resources to like fill those blueprints in.
That's still in this game. You gain blueprints, so like you eventually gain blueprints for the house, for the Pokemon Center, and you with the blueprint you can then place the plot of land you want that building. Once you place the plot of land, you then need the required workforce of Pokemon to build it, and then you also need the required materials to build it as well. And then you say, get to work, and that's the part that takes a day.
Yeah, so that element seems like it's still there, but it feels like, so Dragon Quest Builders had combat to it. It had like moments where, a little annoying because like enemies would come and attack the town, and then you try and fight the enemies, but if enemies got through and started, you know, attacking the town, it would destroy blocks, and then you'd have to spend the aftermath of a wave of enemies cleaning everything up and rebuilding things that had been destroyed by enemies, which I found a little annoying. And then the other thing was because like I played a lot of Minecraft back in the day, back when it was in alpha, and then, you know, as it generated its kind of like hype those couple of years around 2010, 2011, I was playing a lot of Minecraft with people online and just myself as well. Did YouTube content on it, all that sort of stuff. I don't think there's a YouTuber who exists who hasn't done a Minecraft video, right? Like that's just a golden rule. But the thing that game excels in is creativity and doing what you want. And I felt like Dragon Quest Builders, because it was about building up a certain area and then moving on to a totally different area, it didn't feel like I had the same sense of satisfaction that I would with a Minecraft where it was more open-ended. So it felt like it was trying to do that solution, but it didn't quite work in that setting.
Yeah.
I think the thing about this that makes it a bit more interesting to me is that, you know, the focus is a little bit more on the character stuff and the Animal Crossing side of it, as opposed to just being full Minecraft building as a focus, because it feels like then that isn't a thing you have to worry as much about, even though it's a core element of it, right? So yeah, I don't know. I just everything I hear about it, I just get more and more convinced that I probably should just go and buy it and play it, really. And I feel like I'm actually more susceptible to this game than you are, to be honest with you. Like, yeah. I feel like if I have a carrot on a stick like that with little tasks to do, my brain will just like do it, and yeah. I will just have like a podcast on in the background, and I will just be like not realizing that hours and hours have disappeared. So
yeah, totally.
It is maybe a little dangerous for me as opposed to you, who can seemingly play it like 20 minutes at a time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, it is similar to Dragon Quest Builders, but I think Dragon Quest Builders had just some elements that didn't quite work for me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, my going in, I was like, I like Pokemon. I'm always looking for a reason to get back into Pokemon, but the mainline games come out and they get these like mixed reviews of like, yeah, it runs awfully, but you know, this aspect's better. And then I guess the game I was probably closest to playing might have been something like a Legends Arceus that sounded like it got some great reviews. It was doing something new.
It's absolutely the one you should play if you don't play whatever comes out, Winds and Waves next year.
I'm intrigued by reviews for Winds and Waves. I really enjoyed new Pokemon Snap when it came out, but I'm always looking for a reason to get back into Pokemon. And when a bunch of reviews say, oh yeah, this is the best spin-off Pokemon game there's ever been, I was like, right, well, I'm in. I think that's a great selling point. And like I said, Animal Crossing, but with a bit more linear structure in terms of missions and building and creating environments and habitats. Like, that's totally what I'm up for. And yeah, I'm having a really good time. I don't think I'm going to beat this game anytime soon. I think it might be a game that I just tick along slowly, and that might be partly because of Overwatch. But I think I'm just going to keep going, and I'm having a good time. So yeah, it's a cool game. I would highly recommend it. I think the more you love Pokemon, it's a very cute example of, like, part of the reason I love new Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Snap is seeing Pokemon in their habitats, in their environments. It's not just about battling. It's about understanding how they live, how they do this. And this has aspects of that, like, it's cute. I like it. Like, I want to see different habitats and different worlds and what they want to do. And, it's good for that. It's a very unique game.
Can you clarify for me? So when you say habitat, are you talking about like a biome, or are you talking about like each Pokemon's little area that it inhabits is a individual?
The second one. So each little area that the Pokemon inhabits is its habitat. So
right. And what like designates that? Is that like a certain number of blocks around it, or is it like
every habitat is different? I think the maximum size habitat might be like a 5x5 grid, and then there's certain things you have to put down in them. So,
but does it show that? Does it show that on the world, like how large it is, or are you kind of guesstimating the size of the habitat? And if you put something too far away, it doesn't count as being part of it.
Yes, no, exactly. So if Bulbasaur's like, I want a bed in my habitat, then when you get out of bed and you stand near Bulbasaur's habitat, there is a dotted line around the habitat.
I see.
So if the bed is inside that dotted line, it will count towards Bulbasaur's happiness. If it's not, it's somewhere else. And
so are you building like full little houses for them every time? Is that necessary?
Yeah, you can if you want, and supposedly their happiness gets much higher when you have like multiple Pokemon living in houses that you build for them. But the habitats are almost created as a way to like attract the Pokemon in the first place. So it's like,
right, okay.
And you can then move their
and
do
house. They just like stay in that area the whole time? Or are they wandering around?
They're wandering around. They're pretty open and free. I believe there's a way of like going in your Pokedex and just warping to where the given Pokemon is. And it's pretty cool.
Okay, that's cool.
I came back from the beach area I'm in to the original area and just saw like a Charizard floating around. It's like, wow.
Oh, shit.
And there wasn't the Charmander evolving or anything. It was just like a Charizard
just on its own.
Just made a home in one of the habitats I'd already made. And it's so just going around creating loads of habitats. And sure enough, Pokemon will eventually come to most of them. Like it works really well.
Right. Okay. So you can make a habitat that is not necessarily like trying to get a specific Pokemon, but a specific Pokemon could just end up there, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Each habitat, there's a habitat dex, and so the habitat will be in the center of the screen. So it might be like a 2x2 grass grid, and then there's 6 silhouettes, 3 on either side around the habitat. And so it's saying that like these 6 Pokemon like this habitat. So if you build this habitat 6 times in 6 different places, likelihood is eventually these 6 different Pokemon will all make homes in these 6 habitats, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay. I get you. Yeah, I think like that part of, because I guess like part of this is also exploration and like going around and finding stuff and seeing.
Right, because you're finding the items that make these habitats.
Yeah.
Some of them are like, I think Slowpoke's habitat was like a fishing rod beside a bench by the water or something. So like, where am I going to go get a fishing rod? This kind of thing. So like, it's not just natural things like flowers and bushes and water. It's combinations of items like the gravestone for a Cubone, for example.
Okay.
Like there's other items that you need for some of these more rare habitats.
Yeah, so it sounds like also, legendary Pokemon might show up at places, and that's a cool thing to see out in the wild.
I don't want to talk about that too much because I think it's a little spoilery, but there's some cool stuff I've seen already, even 12 hours in around that stuff. Yeah, it's cool.
What in terms of like the types of Pokemon showing up, is it like varied across the generations, or is it very Gen 1 focused at the start? Like what's the...
There's a real bias towards Gen 1, which I like, and I think the Pokemon Company knows we like. So like, I think that there's that bias. I must have seen 3 Pokemon I've not heard of, and I think by this point I've maybe got 40, 50-ish Pokemon, maybe slightly fewer.
I would say your knowledge is probably about half of the Pokedex, if you count like Gen 4 is where you kind of cut off from.
My knowledge is pretty non-existent after Gen 4, exactly. So I think there is a bias to the earlier gens, especially Gen 1. And I think they know exactly what they're doing with all that.
I guess if it is based on Kanto, that makes logical sense, right?
True,
that they would do that. Also, obviously, it opens them up in the future for DLC, for like new areas, or even a sequel, which is, I think, inevitable at this point, given how this game is selling and how fucking viral it's gone. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, man. See, the thing I've been telling myself is like, you need to finish the games that you're already playing. You know, don't get distracted. Don't go buy Pokopia. And I'm just sitting here listening to you being like, oh, fuck, like this feels like it's ticking a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would be very for me. So.
I think we're currently in a decent release window in terms of like things we're into, or are you approaching? Yeah. Can you see things coming?
No,
you're gonna be a Crimson Desert person. Is that what you're?
No, God, I don't think anyone's a Crimson Desert person anymore, are they? Yeah, that's definitely gone down like a bit of a lead balloon. Oh, and it hasn't, because it's sold like 2 million copies already.
It's sitting on like 80 on OpenCritic and has sold the big gajillion copies. So
yeah. Also, like Jeff Grubb, like in one Blue Sky post convinced me to never play this video game, because he was like, "Hey, so like Red Dead Redemption 2? Yeah, what if that felt worse to control?" And I was like, "Okay, well I don't think you can unsell me on a game faster than saying that." Yeah. So yeah, that's. It's unfortunate. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of games that take up lots of hours. Ones which I haven't got to, like Mugenics, but obviously others that I have got to. Natural segue. Slay the Spire 2, which I've been spending a lot of hours in. I think last time I just briefly mentioned Slay the Spire 2 because it had just come out. I played like a couple of runs or so. Had a lot more time to spend with it. I think I probably put 20 hours in at this point, though my Steam is not accurate because I played it on the plane to GDC, and then I played it at GDC, sometimes without internet, and then obviously I played it on the plane back from GDC. So my Steam says 12, but I would say it's closer to 20.
Can you manually add these hours in?
No, the way to manually add these hours in is to leave the game running for 8 more hours. So I might do that. Am I a lunatic? Yes, you guys know I am. So probably will end up happening. So Slay the Spire 2, obviously a sequel to one of the most beloved, one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time. Hit a peak concurrent of, I think, over 570,000 players. So Slay the Spire 1 is interesting in that, like, it was... it kind of grew its reputation over time. Like, when it first launched, it was like, a small group of people talked about it. I first heard about it when Mark Brown did his Game Maker's Toolkit video on Slay the Spire. Yeah, and he was, like, praising it to high heaven. I was like, oh my goodness, I need to check this thing out. It was the same year that Steam World Quest came out, which I think the first kind of card-based game that I'd really engaged with. And I played...
2017? 18?
20... Oh... Maybe it was 19, I think. Well, Slay the Spire came out of early access in 2019, I think. So, because it started, I think it came out in 2017 originally in early access, and then full release was 2019. But yeah, so I remember I played SteamWorld Quest and liked that, and was like, oh, this is really cool, card-based kind of combat thing. And then later in the year, I played Slay the Spire, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is like the second coming of Christ. This is legitimately like game design genius. And yeah, I played a lot of Slay the Spire. I didn't play like nearly as much as most people do. I think I actually topped out at about 30 hours of Slay the Spire 1, which is pretty low numbers for the amount of time that people have actually spent with that game. And I really enjoyed my time with it. I beat it with all the 3 characters at the time, and then I went back every now and again. I played a little bit of the 4th character, the Watcher, but never really understood or knew what was going on with them. So yeah, I had it as a game that was like there that I would often check in on every now and again, but never managed to beat the heart, which was very difficult, but was able to beat it a handful of times with different characters. So that's about 30 hours. I'm 20 hours into Slay the Spire 2. I have 0 victories to my name. Well, that's a lie. I have 1 victory through co-op, which is definitely not because of me, definitely because of my co-op companions. This game is, I will say, significantly harder than Slay the Spire 1. And I don't know if that is just because I'm, haven't played Slay the Spire 1 for a while, and I'm reacclimatizing myself to it and the deck building thing. But I feel like there are certain enemies I come across where I'll be fine, and then I'll fuck up one thing, and all of a sudden my run is over. And I do think that, a lot of praise has been heaped on Slay the Spire 2, and I think it is very warranted. I think it's, it's improving games in lots of different ways, and it's adding a lot of stuff. But I don't know. I just feel like it's kicking my fucking ass, and I'm having a hard time with it from like a can I even get a single win perspective. Now things are turning around a little bit because today I think I would be a bit more down on it if I hadn't played today. Today I had some really good runs, so I feel like I'm getting into the groove a bit more, figuring it out. I got to the final boss actually before we recorded this and lost on it, but at least I got there and I had like a decent thing going. I think that part of the frustration is that I had a run going before that I was like absolutely dominating. I had a really good setup. And then something happened. I don't remember what it was specifically.
Was it like a specific counter to what your deck was doing really well? Or was it
No, not necessarily. I think I just got like a little bit of bad RNG and then it snowballed and suddenly I was dead. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like I felt like I was on an unstoppable roll with like a really good build. And then I just suddenly died. And maybe part of it is me being a little haphazard because there's often times in Slay the Spire, and so when I first played it, I played it on my TV with controller, and I took my time, and runs were taking a long time, like hour and a half. And I think part of that is controller is slow. And same when I'm playing on Steam Deck, is like it's quite slow to play cards and everything. When I'm playing on my desktop, I can speed through those early rounds because there's only limited stuff you can do, and you're building your deck up. You know what to do. It's very quick. And because I'm mousing over and just like bang, 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 I feel like I have a much better momentum. But that also leads to stupid mistakes because I'm like, oh, I'm going to play this, and then I'm like, oh shit, I didn't block because I'm going to take damage, and I'm being stupid about it. So part of it is me to blame, trying to be a little bit maverick and quick about making my moves and not thinking as strongly as I should do about things.
It sounds tough though that like things can be going so well and then all of a sudden you are like actually dead because something like a Hades, like I might be thinking I'm doing incredibly well. A boss fight goes south. I get through the boss fight, but I'm kind of like mortally wounded because I've used all my death defies and like I do maybe prefer it when a roguelike gives you a little bit of wiggle room, and the idea that you can just be going along thinking you're king of the world and then it just completely hacks you down is maybe a little bit. It's a bit brutal. It can, yeah. I think, a game like Hades is far more forgiving in terms of you have death defiances. Like there is a relic in Slay the Spire 2 that revives you if you die. But obviously you have to have RNG to even come across that in the first place. So it's not like there's no meta progression in the same way. No permanent upgrades,
yeah. And I'd say deck builders are mainly like this, because deck builders, the progression is more to do with new cards you unlock or new relics you unlock, and then they get added to the pool of things that you can then use that hopefully makes your life easier because they're better cards that get added, etc., etc. So yeah, I think that stuff has been challenging, but it doesn't stop me from being very hooked on the game and wanting to do another run and coming back to it, because I think there is,
because it'll be even more satisfying when you beat this game. Is like,
exactly,
wow,
yeah, totally.
Here we go.
Like it's the thing that I want to overcome and I want to do, and I want to do it with all the characters as well. And there are new characters here, so there are 3 returning characters. So you've got the Ironclad, the Silent, and the Defect, who were the original 3 in Slay the Spire 1. And then they've added 2 new characters, the Regent and the Necrobinder. So the Regent is this interesting character where he sits on a throne and his cards are built around a second resource. So you have your energy, right? And at the start of each turn, you have 3 energy, and you can use that energy to play cards of various costs, right? So either you can play 3 cards that cost 1, a card that costs 2 and another one costs 1, or one that costs 3, and that's how it will be kind of melded out throughout the run. You can get ways of getting more energy, and there's cards that give you energy, etc., etc. The Regent has a second resource that is called Venerance or something. It's like this little blue star, and this is a resource that doesn't decay over time. So you can build this resource up and have like 6 or 7 of it. And then certain cards will use 0 energy, but they will only cost this second resource, basically. And so his cards are about building up that second resource and then spending a bunch of cards on that instead of regular energy. You can do that in one way. You can also, he has this thing called, it's like a Regent's Blade or something. And the blade, you can forge it, and so it's a blade that hovers around you, and each card that you add to its number basically adds to the damage. So you can have a card that's like 15 forge, and it will add 15 damage to the sword. And the sword is a card you can play, but it stays in your hand the whole time. It has a feature to it called Retain, which basically means that it doesn't get dealt out of your hand at the end of a turn. So you keep this sword in your hand the whole time, and you can just keep forging and adding numbers. I got a power in a run today that added 6 forge at the start of every turn. So every turn it was gaining an extra 6 damage potential. And the idea behind this is that you build that sword up to the point where the sword is doing 300 damage, and you use it once, and the enemy is dead in one hit, basically. Ooh. So that's an interesting new mechanic that's been added to the region. There's obviously lots of other things that you can go in terms of build variety for each character, because, you know, the Silent can do daggers, or they can do poison, or they have this new ability called Sly, which is based on if you discard a card, then anything that has Sly associated will play that card as it's being discarded. So instead of just discarding the card gets played as you discard it. So each character has multiple different types of build that they can spec into, and I think the expansion of it generally across every character means that there's like huge amount of variety in terms of stuff that you can be building towards, and cards that you're going to be centered your deck around. The fourth character, the Necrobinder, she's like a Reaper. She has a hand, like a kind of like I don't know, like a what you call it, like it, I don't know, like in Elden Ring, you know how you have the creatures who come at you, the big hand guys. It's like a yeah, I don't know what else to call it really, you know, but it's one of those, and it essentially acts as a second defense mechanism. So say you have 0 defense and the enemy is going to do 5 damage. If Osti, who is the hand, has 5 HP, it will die, but it will take all that damage for you. And Osti respawns at the start of every turn with 1 HP. So what you can do is you can get cards that buff Osti, and you can get Osti to have like 50 HP and just like keep taking damage for you. So you then don't need to worry about block because he's taking all the damage for you. The Necrobinder also has a different status effect called Doom, which is a status similar to Poison, but slightly different. Poison kind of disappears over time, and like if you don't keep stacking it, Poison will tick down over time. Doom maintains that number the whole way, but the difference is that Doom resolves at the end of an enemy turn, not at the start of an enemy turn. So you know sometimes you're trying to kill something with poison and you're like, okay, I just need to get it over this number, then they'll die before they can take their turn. Doom is different in that it retains the number, it doesn't decrease, but you have to get through the enemy turn in order for Doom to apply. Yeah. So you have to get to the end and then be like, okay, I have enough Doom, it's going to die at the end of the turn, basically.
I remember Slay the Spire 1 being very good at like, mid-game, you can just hold your cursor, or on console do the equivalent of hold it over anything, and there'll be like an explainer as like, this is how this works. You can do that at any time in the game turn or whatever, which I think just makes it all just sing and work together a lot better. It's good.
Yeah, and you know what the enemy intents are every turn as well, so it's about planning around what they're going to do next and hoping that you have enough defense and attack and everything to deal with it. And obviously RNG is a big factor here, because sometimes you'll just deal a hand that just doesn't have what you need, and that is obviously down to like your deck craft as well, like how much are you thinning your deck out to get rid of the craft cards that you don't want and kind of focus on the good ones that you do, so that you can keep drawing good stuff every single turn and therefore have more consistency, basically, because the more consistency you have, the more reliable things are, and therefore you're kind of going to get through it a lot more easily. So obviously a hard thing to learn, but I have learned that playing Slay the Spire 1. I don't know, man. I feel it's so really fucking hard. It's just very, very challenging. And I think part of this is also, I never played the original game in early access. I only played it at 1.0, at the point at which the game had obviously been fully balanced and figured out and, you know, everything.
I think going to nerf it for 1.0, is that your prediction?
Well, I don't know, because I'm not sure how common this experience is. I definitely have, like, my colleague Wout, he's on Ascension level 8 with one of the characters. So, like, clearly people are good enough at this game to, like, get through the difficulty spikes and are beating it consistently. But it's hard. And I think part of that is also just, you know, things don't work exactly the same. Like, you can't have as reliable sources of energy, for example. Like, there was a relic in Slay the Spire 1 that would give you +1 energy for the rest of your run. Now you have one item that I just came across today that says, okay, +1 energy, but it will disappear when you get to the end of Act 2, so you won't have an Act 3. And, like, it feels more stringent on the relics, but then the cards are doing slightly different things, and so sometimes it's more about leaning into a specific card and what it does versus what a relic can provide you as like a permanent buff all the way through. So I would say, I don't know, it feels like relics are slightly weaker, but maybe cards can be manipulated to be stronger, and I'm just not used to that, so I'm maybe having a harder time adapting, I guess. But it's still incredibly engaging, and like every time I do a run and I die, I'm like, fuck you, I'm gonna do it next time, like I'm like, this time I'm gonna make good decisions, and this time I'm gonna get rid of this card and not take that card.
Sign of a good roguelike is like, I want to do it again, I need to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other sign of good roguelike is you can do it again with your friends. So I played, I don't know, maybe 4 hours of co-op Slay the Spire. So we went to GDC, and my colleague Liz was like, oh shit, we can play co-op Slay the Spire. I was like, that's a great idea. So there were 3 of us, basically, me, Wout, and Liz. We were at the rooftop bar of the hotel, and it was like, we could go out to an event at GDC, but we're very tired, and we're like, we can't be bothered. Let's go to the rooftop bar and play Slay the Spire. So that's what we did. We got some drinks, we sat on the rooftop bar, and we did...
What's the name of the lady in the Switch one? Is it Karen?
Oh, yeah, Karen? Yeah, that's what everyone called her, yeah. But a good time here we are instead with 3 Steam Decks, basically, trying to play a co-op run of Slay the Spire, which, we played 3 players, and the differences with co-op. So the way co-op works is that you have, all 3 of you are playing at the same time, all 4 of you, all 2 of you playing at the same time. The enemies are balanced to accommodate for that. So all the enemies have more health and more stuff that they can do to everybody because... to balance it out, basically. It's mainly more health, I would say. Like, in terms of damage output and everything, it seems about the same, because when an enemy attacks, you are dealing with your own health pool, basically. You don't have to worry about everyone else's. Everyone is dealing with their own defensive capabilities. Same with offensive, to be honest. Like, everyone's building their own deck individually. But obviously you have more firepower, which means the enemies need to have more health to accommodate it. And then you need to have ways of mitigating them. But because you're all going together, there are ways in which your cards can interact and work together. So one of those ways is that there are specific co-op cards in the game that do certain things that affect a team. So Liz got a card that was give everyone 12 block. And so there would be a turn where she'd be like, oh, I have this card, don't use up your block, don't waste your block, basically, because I can give you 12 block right now, and then you can use your mana, your energy, on just attacking instead. So there is communication needed for certain cards like that when they come up. There's also, like, if you have a card that's going to do a certain thing and it would benefit the other person to do something else, then you have to say that as well, because you can say, oh, I have a card that's going to double damage from the next person who attacks, so let's line this up in order so that we do it properly. So it's interesting because it does have a level of communication, while at the same time, you're very much free to build your own deck as you want for what you want to do. And, you can take those co-op cards if you think it makes sense. But for the most part, like Wout was going with a poison build with a silent, and then I was trying the defect to just build up all my darkness orbs, basically. So all that stuff kind of can combine, but you are also kind of doing your own thing at the same time. Right. It's a little bit of the best of both worlds to some degree. So it's good fun. I really enjoy doing it. I definitely think that it's chaotic, and when you have 4 people, so basically then our other colleague came and joined us, and my Steam Deck was running out of battery, and we were like, should we just go back to our room and get on voice chat and continue? And so we started a new 4-player run, 2-hour run. I was in my bed falling asleep at the end of this run because I was jet lagged and was wanting to go to sleep. But I'm just Steam Deck on my lap as I'm chatting to my phone.
That's some good hotel Wi-Fi that this all worked out. I'm impressed.
Oh yeah, it worked perfectly fine. Yeah, the hotel Wi-Fi was all good. So, but yeah, and we actually won that run, and it was mainly down to Wout, to be honest with you, because he had a silent build with poison that was just doing loads of damage. And by the end, 2 of us were dead, and most of us were on our very last sliver of health, and just managed to eke it out. But yeah, we did get a co-op win in Slay the Spire 2, which means that I did unlock some stuff for winning a game, which I don't feel like I deserve yet because I've not done it myself. So I need to go and do it myself, which I'm endeavoring to do right now. I had 3 Ironclad runs today. I did a silent run. I did a Regent run as well, and no dice yet, but I'll keep rolling, we'll get there, and hopefully as we go along, they'll make it easier for me, because it's really hard. And I'm having a hard time, but it's still very, very satisfying and enjoyable. And
which deck are you going to get your first win with?
I feel like Ironclad is the easy one. Like, he's just, the nice thing about Ironclad is that
he's the red guy with the sword, the attack.
The red, yeah. He has big block stuff as well, so he can block quite easily, and like, he heals for 6 health as his base relic that you get. So like, it just keeps you nice and topped up basically a lot of the time, which is very helpful in a game where you're trying to mitigate as much damage as possible and save enough health so that you can survive. So yeah, I had 2 decent runs with him. The first run I had was actually really fucking good, and that's the one that I just ballsed up somehow, but that one I could have definitely gotten to the boss and maybe beaten it. The second one was not as strong a build, and yet I still managed to get to the final boss. So I don't know, it was interesting. It depends on the routes you take as well, because depending on, like, if you take more elites, then obviously you're going to lose more health because those fights are much harder, but you also get bonus relics for fighting elites. So it's just a toss up of like, what challenging route do you want to go down, and do you want to make it slightly easier for yourself, but maybe not have as much stuff by the end to the point where you're not going to be able to do the final boss because you're just not powered up enough, essentially. So
right.
Yeah, lots of risk reward there, and lots of stuff to figure out. Maybe I should do what you've been doing with Overwatch and just watch some Slay the Spire 2 tips videos, Bally, to
become a complete nerd. Yes.
Become a nerd.
It's a satisfying journey, honestly. I'm loving it with Overwatch. Just getting good at something is a nice project.
Yeah. Absolutely. So
Talking
it's okay. By the
good.
time that you get to it in 2 years' time, whenever they get it into 1.0, hopefully I'll be good enough, Bally, to coach you through it, and then we'll play it co-op. And
I'd be tempted to get it on Steam Deck before then. We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah. Great. Well, that's Slay the Spire 2. Bally, we've got one more thing to talk about.
Talking of getting good, I was saying, Bally Jr. and I, but mainly Bally Jr., has finished Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm just so shocked that he beat this. He beat this game. Now, what was he playing? What was I playing? I defeated every boss in the game for him, but I would say outside of boss fights, he did about 85 to 90% of everything in this game himself. Now, some of that I was like coaching him through, like, why don't you try there? Why don't you try this? But I was so shocked at the amount that he was doing. Now, I should say, so we'd played Astrobot, we'd played Astro's Playroom, we'd played Kirby going into this. And my suggestion to him, because I gave him a couple of options. I said, right, here's Mario 3D World. I thought that was a decent evolution from a game like Astrobot, still level-based, still linear. And I said, but I've also got Donkey Kong Bonanza. And I showed him trailers of both of them, and he wanted to play Donkey Kong. My fear was that Donkey Kong was just far too many systems. These worlds are way more open. It's quite overwhelming. You've got constantly respawning enemies. That is definitely a bugbear of mine with this game. And I just think it's it's a lot to take in when your previous game was like Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
It's a very technical game, right?
It's
Lots
very
of buttons
technical
that need to be pressed. Yeah.
Let me tell you, by the end of this game, his knowledge and skill with the controller in executing what he intended when using bonanzas, defeating enemies, platforming, doing stuff under pressure, I could not believe like the level he got to. Now I should say, like, he is still nervous about that feeling of failure, and there's definitely times where there's the times or levels where you have to take out the enemies where he'd get so close and then it'd be like, oh no, time's up, start again, and he'd be like, okay, Daddy, you do it. And it's that feeling of like, oh, I failed the thing, I don't want to try again, I want to forget about it. And I mean, he's only 4, so give him credit. Like, no one likes to fail at doing something or be perceived to fail, and it's that whole thing with parenting where I'm trying to praise effort, not outcome. That's like a whole big thing like we're trying to do. Like, so just giving him lots of praise, like, you were so close to getting this, doing that, and there were loads of other like timed things he was doing under pressure and all this sort of thing. And he also got to the point with Bonanzas where he'd see little islands just in the distance, or that like whole lagoon area that's just like a whole seaside thing with loads of water. he'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to use
the watermelon one.
The watermelon one, right? He was like, oh, I'll just use Ostrich Bonanza to fly from this point to this point because I know that it can fly. Oh yeah, and by the way, Zebra Bonanza, they can run on water, so I'm just going to run between these island points using. And he
my God!
Without me saying anything, he would just enact Bonanzas, switch between, get to the right one he wanted, and do the action. And
to what degree do you think that was, because we have talked about this as well, of him watching lots of playthroughs before actually playing the game? To what degree is that influenced by him watching Zach Scott, who does that and like kind of optimizes by running across the water as Zebra Bonanza versus him intuitively doing it based on mechanics he's learned within the game?
Yeah, I'll give you that. I think a lot of this is learned from watching Let's Plays because his time with video games is limited. So I should say we started this game in what? I think it was late October, maybe early November. You thought it might have been a little bit later, MBZ, but like we just finished it like a week ago or so. We were playing it in 45-minute sessions, and he probably has about 3 45-minute sessions of video gaming a week. So like we limit his video gaming time because it's intense. It definitely, it dysregulates him a bit, but we're very lax. We're very lenient on screen time. Like we don't mind him watching quite a lot of Let's Plays. Like Bally Jr.'s always had plenty of screen time. We're not that against screens and watching videos that is decent content, and that obviously we would class Let's Plays as decent content. So like he watches a lot of Let's Plays, and for him it's like this fun way of knowing a bit, like me watching Overwatch videos, like it's his fun way.
Well, it's basically like what we did as kids: read magazines about games, like basically ingest information, go open up the game box and read the manual on the way back home, right? That type of like engaging with the thing outside of the thing,
engaging that feeling of being part of it when you're not actually doing it, building your knowledge. So yes, he's watched lots of Let's Plays, and he will often watch the Let's Play of the relevant game that we're playing. He did this with Astrobot. He's done it with Kirby, and with Kirby to the point where he'd be like, "Oh, Daddy, there's like a secret round here we need to get. Make sure we collect that." Like, okay, you've just like memorized where in the level that is. I think that's really impressive for what he was a 3-year-old at the time. So yeah, he's watching lots of Let's Plays. He's getting the techniques from them a lot of the time. But for a 4-year-old, I think that's great. Like he's just like learning, and then I would argue not all of his uses of Bonanzas were learned from Let's Plays. There was definitely sometimes he would just think creatively, what can I do? Oh, I need to jump up to that extra high platform. I'll go to Snake Bonanza. Let's jump up there. And sure, he could have climbed up, but he is enjoying that ability of like, I've got all these abilities that I can use at free will, and then here we go. Let's just do that. And yeah, so it all went really well. I was so impressed by just how he was doing. Would I like him to take on bosses at some point? Of course, but I think he'll just get more and more confident. And I think, like I've said before, the game is really well designed where I was using the 2-player co-op option. So I was able to control the camera. So he really didn't have to worry about camera, which was really nice. Apart from the one section where you lose Pauline and they thematically make it single player, you cannot play co-op when Pauline is gone. So he was having to control the camera on that one bit, which I think was very funny. And there were a handful of times where there was quite a lot of flying enemies, and he would just say like, Daddy, can you take out those flying enemies? And that's one ability you have with Pauline. You can shoot materials of your choice. You can like copy a material, point at a material, copy that material, and shoot it at enemies and things. So I think just a great feature, because I can just make certain enemies a bit easier. Because I felt really sorry for him, where he'd really build himself up to fight some of these baddies in the levels and punch them. He'd walk around the corner, walk back, and they'd all respawn. Like, I think this is just such a big issue with Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Yeah.
The enemies respawn so fast.
I thought they only did it if they were necessary for like a kind of like getting through an area, because there's sometimes where you would have an enemy that was there for an explicit purpose of blowing up a wall or something, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a reason for it to be there. But if you're saying it's just happening consistently everywhere across the game, that's
it's everywhere. Yeah, it's a bit annoying. For him, like for me, it was a minor annoyance. For him, it was a big annoyance. Like, and it's just that sort of thing. Like,
I guess he's getting a taste of what we had back in the day, of playing games where constantly respawning enemies all the time.
But like being a parent and playing these games with him just makes me wish for more accessibility options. Like, I should just be able to turn the enemies off if I want to. Like, I should just be able to make sure they don't respawn. I should just be able to like carve out a path for him that I think he will enjoy the most. Like, we don't have to live in a world where we have to clobber kids over the head with like, this game's tough, get good. Like, I think he is getting good. Don't worry about that. He is getting good. He's getting better at video games from doing all these things. But it's that fear of, not necessarily just the fear of failure, but he wants the satisfaction of doing a thing and it not coming back. And I think that's just a bit of a big issue with Bananza. And
Nintendo, as we know, just really good at accessibility, just for the best at it. Always have every option available. Yeah, I think it is the thing that they, ironically, extremely bad at, given that most of their audience are children, you know, like God. A huge amount is. So I'm
gonna briefly mention 3D World at the end of this because that's the game we're currently just started. But yeah, there's a whole lot of there's a couple of things I want to say about that. But like, just to stick with Bananza and finish it off, I think that this game was absolutely perfect for him. I think he loved like the DK Pauline relationship. He was not up for all the chit chat, and like every time he saw Cranky Kong, he was like, I don't want to chat through all this, and he didn't want all the chit chat.
Did he want to skip through cutscenes though, or is that different? Did he treat that differently?
He was trying to move around DK during cutscenes, and I had to explain like, okay, how do I explain a cutscene to someone who doesn't know what a cutscene is? Like, it's part of the game.
Hey, you know, like those TV shows that you watch that you can't interact with? How about they sometimes put a TV show inside of the video game? Yeah,
but he'd be like, oh, so it's a Let's Play. It's like, no, it's not a Let's Play. It's like, you know, so yeah, it's tricky. But yeah, so I think we had a great time. I think it's just zany, and the design of like Void Kong and all the mini bosses and bosses, I think was just suited to him. And he'd seen Let's Play, so he knew that about the secret final boss. Can we talk about the secret final boss? Has it been enough time? Should I not mention it?
I mean, if you skip forward, I don't know,
a couple of minutes,
30 seconds. You don't want to be spoiled by the end of Donkey Kong Bonanza on a Nintendo podcast.
Yes. So King K. Rool is in this game. He's the final boss, and he had seen from Let's Plays that he was the final boss, and I think he thought his design was fantastic and zany and weird. And sure, I did all that fight for him, and I will say that like that boss fight is considerably tougher than anything else in the video game. I definitely needed all my video game skills to defeat it again. And again, I just think this game is fantastic. I love Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's now obviously a bit of more of a special game because it's the longest game that Bally Jr. has ever played, and I just owe him. I'm so impressed that he really stuck with it, and it was never like, oh, it's very long, can we play a different game? He was just pumped about Donkey Kong Bonanza day and night, and talking about the elders and the Bonanzas and the lairs they live
in.
Big
lore hound, you know, deep into the lore of the elders.
And he just wanted to live it. And he would like just smile with delight the second I asked him a question about Donkey Kong Bonanza, and like I'd say, all right, so next time we're gonna go to the feast lair. Like, yeah, the burger lair, yeah. Like, you get all excited. So like, we had a great time with this game. I think it's really well designed. It's a great modern game to play with a kid, and he proved me wrong. Like, I was worried this was far too many systems, far too open. This is unlike anything linear he's ever played. I was really worried, and he showed me that, you know, he can take it all in. He's learned. He's got the Let's Plays. He's got the knowledge. He's got the knowledge of the lore, and he had a great time. And yeah, it's great. I think it was awesome.
You have said before that like he doesn't have favorites necessarily. If you ask him what his favorite thing is, he's like, everything. I like it all. It's all good. Just from a sense of what you have seen him play, from the games that he has played so far, what would you say his like enjoyment level is? It increased over time? Do you think he has a game that he has vibed more with than others?
I think once his skill level was there, Astrobot might be the favorite. I could be wrong. It'd be interesting if he knows that Astrobot is a much shorter game, so I think he'd be more up for replaying it. He also wants to replay Kirby. He's told me this. But I do think there was something special about Donkey Kong, that it was just so open and he really felt free. And I would always offer him choices. I'm like, do you want to find more bananas? Do you want to progress the main story? Or do you just want to, I will just keep my mouth shut and just do what you want. And I think there was this level of freedom with Donkey Kong where there were some of our play sessions, I just kept my mouth completely shut, and he wanted to just
ran around and punch stuff.
He just ran around and punched stuff. But that's great. He's still learning. He's learning the mechanics. He would try. This is how he learned his like jump, roll, jump trick and all this stuff. He would just be messing around in the stage in a way that you don't do in Kirby or Astrobot that he loved about this game. And
do you want to explain that, by the way, how he was using his leg on the
okay, so he holds the controller where his hands are a little bit too small, although he's getting better, but he was always holding the left analog stick with his 3 fingers, so his thumb, his index finger, and middle finger, and holding it like a nub and moving it in that way. And over time, he would often get out. He would roll. So roll in Donkey Kong Bonanza is ZL. So I always was a bit worried. I thought, all right, he's not going to be able to move with that and then press ZL. So I'm not going to tell him how to do it. I'm just going to see how he does it. See how it goes. And I noticed he would just randomly roll, and I realized he was like bumping the controller off his leg kind of by accident. And by the end of the game, or latter third of the game, I realized he'd worked out like, oh no, he can do it on purpose. He's like physically shoving the controller into his leg to press the ZL button and time it with his jump to do a jump forward roll. And I was like, oh my God, this kid is so smart. Like, he's a genius. I just thought that was so impressive. So fun. So yeah, really impressed Bally Jr. So yeah, he came up with his own control mechanism, but I would argue he is now trying to use the left analog stick a bit more with his thumb. He's realizing that actually his hands are kind of big enough and he can just about reach the shoulder button. So like it does work out more. And I'll talk very briefly about 3D World, which we've started. We're kind of in the third world.
Okay, nice.
In my head, 3D...
Which you have rebought, by the way, for context, right? You have got the Switch version?
I've rebought, yes. I spent like 35 quid or whatever it was to...
was it on sale?
Well, I think it was. How much was it?
You might have gotten it during... Because the deepest discount they ever do is 33% off.
Right, exactly.
Right?
I got... Was it on sale on Amazon? I got a physical copy.
You got physical? Yeah, I see. Okay.
And I will play Bowser's Fury myself at some point now that I own this. But... in my head, 3D World was the natural evolution of Astrobot. It's linear, level-based. He'll love it. It's going to be great. I don't think he's vibing with this game anywhere near the level of Astrobot or Donkey Kong. And in my head, 3D World is a very modern game. Like, this game came out like November 2013. It's just like 2013 is modern in my head in terms of gaming and evolution. I don't think this game's a modern game. And I think when you're playing with someone like Bally Jr., or someone who's played fewer games, there's archaic stuff in this game that is working against his enjoyment of this game and doing things that games like Astrobot and DK don't do, that is just making his experience worse for no good reason. And like we've said about Nintendo, there's no options to turn it off. So the 3 things this game does that really annoy me: there's a time limit. So a lot of these things it does are linked to the fact that it's playing on Mario Brothers, it's playing on the original 2D Mario game.
It's kind of melding like 2D Mario with 3D,
exactly.
Right? That was kind of the idea behind those 2 games, essentially.
Yeah. And part of that is having a time limit. Why does the original Mario Brothers even have a time limit? So you're beating the level to get a high score like that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a holdover from arcade school design, right? Like the idea of a timer is the faster you do it, the more points you get. Therefore, at the end of the game, if you have a lot of points, then you can compare it to your friends. Like, I guess like back then, just playing the game and getting through it was not enough. You needed to have this badge of honor, this thing that you could say, I've done this at this score, and this is my score for every time I play through Mario Brothers, right? And the idea of the game is quite short, that you play it a lot of times and you improve your score by getting faster, and I think that's the thing. But like with many Nintendo things, they keep it for no discernible reason other than we used to do it, so we're going to keep doing it.
Exactly. And I just think for a game that introduces like these green stars, there's 3 green stars per level, you kind of have to explore a bit for them. It's a good example of 2 mechanics just working completely against each other. So one is like, take it slow, look for the green stars, let's explore. He loves exploring. That's what we've done a lot of the time in Donkey Kong. But all of a sudden, like, we're now running out of time. It's like, so do you want me to run through this level fast, or do you want me to explore for stars? Why don't we have 2 modes of the game, or a toggle that you can turn on and off? Like, let's do something that allows you to go at your own speed, look for the green stars, and you don't have to worry about a time limit. And I just think that's a real shame that, like, I'm sort of encouraging him to look for the green stars, but at the same time, we're running out of time. We're running to the, and it's just like, this is just not fun and is so avoidable. Either the game should not have a time limit, or you just need a mode where you can turn it off. It's very simple. It's such an easy fix. The other thing that I think modern games do so much better than like the original Mario and 3D World is, right, for Bally Jr., abilities are really exciting. They're this thing that like, the way they're presented in like Astrobot, it's a big deal. You open this chest and you get the ability, and now you're using that ability and you're playing the game in a different, unique, innovative way and doing something different and new in the rest of the level. That's really exciting for him. The same with Bananza. Like, they make a whole elder and a whole scene, a whole world just to get an ability, and there's only like 5 abilities in the game, and they make whole worlds based on these abilities. Like, that was also really exciting for him. 3D World, you get, let's say, Cat Mario. He's pumped about getting Cat Mario. He's a cat. Oh, he bumped into a Goomba. Now he loses his ability. Like, linking having the ability to not getting hit, and all of a sudden you go from Cat Mario to Super Mario back down to Mario. It's just adding this level of punishment for him that just makes it so unenjoyable, because he's excited to get the ability and play with that ability. You could just have like like Mario Galaxy or the other 3D Mario games. Just give Mario like a life wheel or something. Like, he can stay as Cat Mario.
It comes down to the approach they took with this game, which was, okay, let's create a 3D perspective Mario game, but let's keep all the rules of the 2D games.
Exactly.
Essentially. So it retains everything from that side of the series while making a different like 3D perspective on it.
So you're scratching the nostalgia itch, but to young people coming into playing a game for the first time, it's pretty damn punishing. And I would argue, I've not gone back and played it for a while now, but maybe Mario Galaxy would, if it's an older Mario game, that he would enjoy more than this. It's just the way that in my mind this was such a perfect game, and in practice I definitely think he's not having as good of a time as Donkey Kong and Astrobot. And I just think there are certain things, and then finally the third thing that links to both of these, like the life system. So like, we're randomly getting game overs when he's falling off and like he's not understanding, and there's periods where like he loses the last life, and then all of a sudden I'm just playing the level by myself, and it's like, right, well, this is meant to be a co-op experience, so I'm just going to jump off this level, get the game over, and we're going to come back and return lives. And it's just like, this is just archaic bullshit. Like, this is stupid. Like, this is so avoidable. These levels are very nicely designed. We're happy to like look for the 3 stars and get to the end of the level. You don't need a time limit. You don't need lives, and you get completely punished for what is arguably the best bit of Mario games, which is the abilities. So I was
I guess to some degree it is a game that you could treat as something to come back to later. Like, I feel like it's not necessarily appropriate for his level right now. It could be the case because of these design decisions that they made, that I think probably work better when you are at an older age and you have a better sense of control over what you're doing and understanding of what the constraints are and what the kind of pitfalls are, essentially. So yeah, I guess like, I think you were right to take a look at it and think, oh, this is a perfect game to play because I can do it together, co-op. But it just seems like maybe it's one that's actually worth revisiting later down the line, as opposed to trying to push through now, given the restraints that it has and how much more challenging it gets further on in the game as well.
I just don't think the game test with like kids or anything for 3D World, and I'm convinced they have with a game like Bananza, for example, that co-op that some people have said, oh, it's rubbish, you can't do anything. It's like, actually being able to control the camera is quite a big deal for someone who's not into games. And likewise, just having the ability to shoot some rocks and defeat a few enemies to help them out is also a big deal. The idea that like a Nintendo boardroom would have thought at the time that 3D World is very appealing to kids getting into games, and it categorically isn't, because of the BS that they feel they have to put in for nostalgia reasons. So let's either admit that we're appealing to the nostalgia audience, or let's aim at kids, or let's try and aim at both and toggle options between the two. Like,
no, I guess Nintendo would argue that like, well, kids played Mario Brothers 1 back in the day, and but I think the thing is like, things have changed in the world, right? Like, attention spans are nowhere close to what they used to be, and like the way that people approach things and like the way that other games have been built, it's obviously it's definitely archaic.
Yeah,
and there are parts of these that they have fixed in more modern games, but even Super Mario Brothers Wonder, that has lives, baby. They still use that in that game. So there's certain things that I feel like they still will never get away from, unfortunately.
Yeah. I actually think they've modernized in certain series far more than others. Like, I think Mario Odyssey supposedly has a very similar co-op mode to Donkey Kong, and I do think Mario Odyssey would have been a great introduction to Mario in some senses, but playing Odyssey on the back of Bananza I think would just be it's too samey, too much of the same. So we're definitely going to play Odyssey at some point, and I expect he will have a good time. But at the same time, like, there's something very chill for him about DK and just like smashing and the free roam and platforming for him. I don't think is as enjoyable as just climbing and smashing in the way DK is when you're just getting into games. So yeah, but he's still happy playing 3D World. I think he's still going to have a good time. He's just not going to have a time that's anywhere near as good as Astrobot.
You don't expect him to like come to you at some point and be like, "Daddy, this is boring. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm annoyed." You know.
I'll always check in with him. Like, are you having fun? Is this good? And so far, he's really keen to play. And he's learning that like they have to bubble and this kind of thing, and that's helping him. But yeah,
I guess it is. I think it's it's a good challenge as well to some degree of like he's getting better, and so this might be I don't know. It's an interesting one, even though obviously it's frustrating in a lot of ways. I think it can teach a lot about the side of games that he will eventually get to, which is, hey buddy, you're not going to win all the time. You're going to die a lot, and it's going to be challenging. And do you want to get over that or not?
Yeah, I mean that's something that a lot of like 7, 8, 9-year-olds struggle to get over, and he's 4, so like
totally. He's like we said before, like he's going to be beating Elden Ring before you are at the age of 3 probably. Go back in time,
I agree, because like when I see him hit the hitbox of a Goomba, I'm like, come on, you're better than that. You can avoid that. So it's part of me like, well, you wanted the Cat Mario, you've now no longer got your Cat Mario. Don't hit the Goomba next time. Like, part of that is good. Yeah, it's like teaching you, right, be careful. There
are consequences to your actions.
Consequences, yeah. Are there not enough consequences to your actions in a game like Donkey Kong Bonanza at times? Sure. But that's also what they were going for with that game. It's meant to be smooth. It's meant to punch. You're meant to do all these things. So
yeah, well, I remember I played some Kirby with him, right? And like Kirby, he was just like running onto poison and stuff like that, and like la 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 la, not really caring about the danger because it wasn't really punishing him that severely. And so I do wonder if like playing this teaches more of a like, hey, this is. You don't do this because then you're going to lose very quickly, basically.
It's tough, and we're getting there. I'll check in again when we finish 3D World, but very impressed.
Which is a much shorter game as well.
We're going to be done so quickly, and that really suits his attitude to this game. And I think he needs the power trip of going back to Astrobot, because I think he will breeze through that. Not breeze through, but he will do so much better in that game now with his new skill level.
Yeah. Is that the plan, is to go back to that after you've done with 3D World?
I always ask him. So I think at the moment, he wants to either play Astrobot or Kirby next. I think it will probably be Astrobot. I think he preferred that to Kirby. And then after that, I'm going to suggest like Mario Odyssey. Might look into Galaxy 1 and 2. We'll see. And then
that could be good. Yeah.
I was thinking about Pokopia, and now I'm convinced it's far too slow. It's far too chatty. He needs something.
He's a Dewey, He's a
Dewey at the moment, he's completely Dewey. So like, I think Pokopia will be the perfect first Pokemon for him at some point. We're not there yet, but
once he can read,
Once he can read, I mean, once video games are a means for his reading to get better and better, like I think he's gonna really, really enjoy like a Pokemon game. So yeah, one step at a time. We're getting there.
Nice, great. Well, yeah, I'm sure we'll check back in with his progress soon, but that's going to do us for this segment, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back after the break with your emails. See you in a bit.
everyone, and welcome back to the show. It is time for that second segment, and that means it's time for emails. If you would like to send an email into the show, please email thisnintendolife@gmail.com. That is thisnintendolife@gmail.com. We also have a channel on our Discord server. The channel is called Emails. So post a question, a comment in there, and we might read it out on the show. Our first email today is from Ruud from the Netherlands. Says, "Hi Bally and MBZ, as the father of an 11-year-old boy, I have always been very intentional about the video games I introduced into my son's life. From playing Super Mario Odyssey together to letting him take his first steps in the Link's Awakening remake, and eventually watching him destroy bosses in the original Hollow Knight. But as kids get older, our influence as parents naturally fades. As a result, he became more interested in the games his friends at school were playing. Minecraft, of course, which I think is great, but unfortunately also Roblox. Now, I could write a couple of paragraphs about all the things I hate about Roblox, but here are a few. The games are very addictive, terribly designed, and lack anything that makes video games such an amazing medium. I keep trying to lure him back into the Nintendo life by showing him and letting him play great games. But even Silksong wasn't appealing enough for him to forget about that damned pile of shit. Is this just a phase? Can I look forward to playing good games with my son again in the future? Any ideas on how to pull him away from the dark side? I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you both for providing my favorite podcast for years now. Ruud."
This is a dark reflection of Bally's future.
Yeah, Ruud, I don't know why you're asking me. You're like 7 years ahead of me on the whole child journey thing. So take my opinions with a grain of salt. But I think you're more experienced on that parenting front for sure.
I think the core question to ask here is, why is this happening? Is it because of the social aspect? Because if that is the case, then I think it's a different thing that is going on and less to do with the games themselves and more to do with, well, what are his friends doing? What are they spending their time doing?
It's because 3D World is too hard. It's got time limits. It's got lives, and it's not fun to play together with your friends.
Yeah, it's bad.
Sorted.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and also, nobody owns the Wii U anymore.
No one owns Wii
U. So I think from that perspective, right, like I feel like the real thing with Roblox and Minecraft and Fortnite in these games is that ultimately, I don't think kids love them that much. I think it's really an excuse to hang out with friends and to socialize outside of a school setting or outside of like going over to people's houses. I think like there's definitely kids out there who will just play the single player, and that's kind of what they like doing, and that's the thing. But my thought would be it's a social thing, and if that's not the case, then I don't know. I'd find it harder to assess what's going on. But if it is a social thing, then I think it's reasonable and makes sense, because you're not going to have them spending time doing something outside of what their friend group is doing, right? Because if you want to maintain that and you want to be like, having good friendships at school, then you probably want to be doing what everyone else is doing. And even if you don't enjoy it that much, you're going to hang out in Roblox because that's where everyone else is, right? So I guess that's the main question, is this a social thing? If so, I think it's fine. I think it's okay, because that's kind of the point of those games to some degree. And that's what I imagine will happen, is like eventually he's probably going to be playing Call of Duty, I guess. It just depends on what friends do, right? Yeah. And what people end up doing from a social perspective in terms of multiplayer games. It's a very common thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a little bit generational. I think that like younger gamers than us, we're in our mid-30s, and I think most people who play video games in their 20s, it's all about the social aspect. It's about playing together with your friends, and I should say below 20s as well, like teens and things.
Yeah.
The percentage of them playing, single player Mario Odyssey, I think will obviously be fairly small. But I think it's just kind of horses for courses. Like, will Bally Jr. get into Roblox and Minecraft and Fortnite when he's older?
Inevitably.
Yes. And my opinion is that's totally fine. Like, if he wants to do that and socialize with his friends, and like, there are like social media aspects of Roblox that terrify me, that more so than those other two by a mile. But Minecraft and Fortnite with his friends, I'm way more chill about. But of course, if he wants to play Roblox with his friends, I will find it hard to block him from that. Will Bally Jr. play games with me when he's older? I couldn't tell. I don't want to force him to play them with me if he's not having a good time. If he wants to go to a rugby match with me instead, that's also great. Like, if I can work out how he wants to spend quality time with me as he gets older, that's my main that's my main aim. Right now, for him as a 4-year-old, his number one thing he wants to do with daddy is play video games, and that's great. I think, and will that last forever? Probably not, and that's also okay. Will he then become someone who plays video games by himself that might be like a Zelda or a God of War or Mario Odyssey or whatever? I don't know. I really don't know. I think there's a chance that he'll spend a lot of his time at home playing games with his friends online, to the point that, if you're spending a lot of your thought process playing those games with your friends online, you might not have much more gaming energy to play a kind of thing on by yourself at home. Like, I think we're very unusual in that we're playing lots of games at any given time. Emmy said, like, we are quite unusual. So like
we said, what are we, like the 2% or something like that?
Right, exactly. So I think he's going to want to play something more social, and I think it's really interesting. So MZ mentioned how I've been watching quite a lot of Overwatch videos, and they're like all these Overwatch coaches, and they make YouTube videos and content, and a lot of them are streamers, and then they VOD up their content and stick it on YouTube. And I've been watching a few of these guys. The vast majority of these people are early 20s. And what I find so interesting about that, so I think the reason they're early 20s is because partially what we've just been saying, that age demographic loves to play socially, play with the group, play this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So they are obviously, Overwatch is a great game for that. On top
also,
of that,
you've got to be young for esports, right? Your reaction times are so much better.
And you've got to be young for esports. So you've got more time to invest at that age, arguably, and your Twitch response to these kind of things is so much stronger. But also interesting about that age group is these kids were like 12 when Overwatch came out, and I'm pretty confident most of them probably weren't playing Overwatch at the age of 10, 11 and 12. Like, they have gotten into Overwatch in the last 10 years since it's been out. So I think it's just proof that, like, that age demographic is migrating towards that kind of game because of its social multiplayer thing. And I think that is a wave that is impossible to stop. So like I said, my attitude is Bally Jr. is gonna do that thing. If he's also got time and headspace to hang out with me and play some single player games or even multiplayer with me, that's also great. But if he'd rather go to a rugby match with me or do something else with me, that's great. If he doesn't want to hang out with me at all, I might find that quite hard to take, but that's also just part of growing up. So it's hard to try and predict how he will respond, but I'm very confident he will be playing multiplayer games with his friends. I hope that what we've got at the moment can go for quite a long time, and he's pretty passionate about it as things stand. So who knows? Who knows what the future holds?
Yeah, I think that type of thing is just very common now with kids. And I think it's also like, there's so many people, even of our age, who just hang out in Discord calls with people and like are playing the latest friend slop, right? Like, that's a pretty common thing that you hear people talking about, and is a pretty wide demographic. So even if it's not, these types of multiplayer games, there's still like a side of it, right, that people are always going to lean towards. And yeah, I think it's interesting because, how is this generation that have grown up on Minecraft, Roblox? A lot of them, like you said, are already in their 20s and probably did grow up on Minecraft and Roblox, right? And are now playing other games potentially. Like, how does that evolve? Do they graduate, quote unquote, from those games? Do they just some of them keep playing it, right, forever and ever? So it's hard to, I don't know, everyone's different and everyone's going to have a different approach in terms of what games they connect with and continue to play. But I do think there's a big influence in terms of PC gaming is the one sector of games that is only getting stronger in terms of Steam concurrence every year, in terms of number of players, in terms of all this sort of stuff. Consoles are kind of static and frozen and maybe reducing to some degree. And I think part of that is the influence of the internet and streamer culture and YouTube, and all these young kids are watching people who are making videos and saying, I want to do that as well. What do these people do? They have a PC, they have a computer. And that's where... I
mean, that's when I'm going to end up getting a gaming PC, is when Bally Jr. is like, Daddy,
I want to become a YouTuber.
I want to become a Fortnite streamer, or like, I want to become an Overwatch streamer. Okay, let's go. Yeah. I will move to mouse and keyboard now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I'm going to move to mouse and keyboard.
Totally. But like that's the reality of what's happening, right? Is like lots of kids are getting PCs and graduating from iPad to PC and not even thinking about console in the equation at all, because it's just not a factor in them gaming in any way. So I think that is a possibility as well, right? Is like you kind of like move into that kind of realm of things as opposed to, continuing to play those games forever and ever. And yeah, I don't think necessarily, Rude, that this is a eternal thing, right? Kids inevitably just change interest constantly. And like, remember when we were at school and we had like 1 week it was fucking Micro Machines, then it was like other things like scooters, then it was rollerblades, then it was like fucking Warhammer, then it was Bionicles, then it was Pokemon was forever basically, but it was also a phase of like trading cards at school, and then all these other things, and then we would just you do like 700 different hobbies as you're a kid, and part of that is just figuring out who you are and what you like and what you want to do. And so I think even with this stuff, it's likely, I would say, something that you're just gonna go through, and eventually they'll figure out what they like and do they want to stick with it. And maybe they just play Roblox for the rest of their life, but that just could be a decision, right?
That's the one that I would love to see just vanish or get banned or something. Like there's just something about Roblox that's like very shady. And hands up, I need to do more research on it as well, of course. But like,
it also just looks like shit.
Can we just play some quality, goddammit? Like, can we just play a video game, okay? Come on. Like, it's annoying.
Yeah. But it's one of the most popular things in the world.
Yeah.
So it's quite, I think people were saying like the peak concurrence on Grow a Garden were more people than the number of total people on Steam at that time playing a game. And that's every game on Steam. You want scary numbers? That's scary numbers for you. Yeah. The children, they yearn for the blocks, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
but very good question, Rude. Thank you very much for that one. Our next email is from Chad K, who says, "Hey guys, I just started Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo, partially based on your recommendation. It's fun, but about an hour in, I caught myself wishing it was on the 3DS. The puzzles where you bounce the yo-yo off multiple angled walls would have looked so cool in 3D. Many of the enemies have a bouncing effect that also would translate well to that system. I would love to see a port someday, but I won't hold my breath. Are there any games you guys wish would get ported to a different, probably older system? The RFN guys mentioned that Metroid Dread was potentially a DS game. I'm glad that one waited for the HD era. Any other thoughts? Any others though? Always love the show. Keep up the good work."
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up Pipistrello specifically, because that's a game that like wears its GBA influence very obviously on its sleeve, to the degree where when you boot that game up, they have like a fake GBA looking console that pops up on the screen, and then you kind of like zoom into it and you start playing the game. So they were definitely thinking about classic systems when they were making that game. But I do think that 3DS is a good shout out for it in terms of, I think 3DS and DS are always an interesting console to approach these types of things with, because of the second screen and because of the map being a factor in a lot of these. And
Wii U, it's
of course Wii U in a different way, but I think that is always an interesting usage of that kind of interface, is to have the map segmented so you have it at all times available to look at. And has been mentioned before, Metroid Dread was originally a DS game in development and would have worked great on there with the touchscreen being a ability to look at the map.
It is shocking the DS never had a Metroid game, or a 2D Metroid game, I should say, of course. Metroid Prime
Hunters, yes.
Hunters. I think we're going to look back at this era of Nintendo and be like, yeah, sure, Switch 2, very successful. Love the ability to switch between docked and handheld. Fantastic. I think there is part of me that is very sad that we've moved away from the DS, the 3DS, and the Wii U in terms of having two screens. Now, I appreciate developing for two screens is a lot more effort. It's very different. I also appreciate screens are expensive, and especially the quality of a Switch 2 screen, trying to duplicate that, make the bottom one a touchscreen or doing something akin to that would be very pricey. But if you play a game like Wind Waker HD and you just use the Wii U gamepad for your map, or to quickly select different items with the touchscreen, there's just so much functionality that that very popular games in 2026 that are like open world and huge kind of story driven open world games like A Witcher 3 or even Crimson Desert that's come out or something. All these games that are so open would, in my opinion, benefit massively from a Wii U gamepad and having that ability to look at a map on the bottom screen that you can like manually zoom in and zoom out using your fingers or something like Google Maps, and like there's just so much you can do.
Well, originally Breath of the Wild was going to use this, right, as they showed off when they demoed it that one time.
Of course, and like does it have that functionality on Wii U? The Breath of the Wild? It doesn't have that functionality.
They took it out. They took it out when they moved it to Switch because they didn't want to have like a difference of like they didn't want the Wii U version to actually be better in some ways by having that available. So,
but I think that is really sad because I think there are so many popular styles of games today, mainly that kind of open world third person thing, that I think would benefit from that setup, like an Elden Ring. Like there's just so much that I think would benefit that we are losing by going into this single screen era. And I do predict in the future a second screen will come back and it will be a thing again one day, right? Probably from Nintendo.
I mean, Souls games would work on the Wii U in the sense that, like, I mean, Zombie U did this, but you had the inventory on your Wii U gamepad because it was real time and you would never be able to pause the game in motion. And Souls games are all like that, where you can't pause them. But if you had the ability to like keep aware of your surroundings while you were messing with the inventory on that second screen, instead of opening a window fully covering your view so you have no idea what's going on, I think that is actually would be a very cool approach for those games. So yeah, I know Dark Souls is on Switch, but Dark Souls on Wii U actually would be really good for that aspect of it. So,
and we've already sung the praises of the 3DS so many times, and specifically the 3D of the 3DS. I think it's a crying shame how many sort of podcasters in our circles just look back at the 3DS and go, the 3D wasn't that good. It was all like this. We loved it. And I think it makes a game like Samus Returns, for example, a game that very much could have been on the DS, enhanced by being in 3D. Like, I just think it looks so good, that 3D effect. And that is something I'm so curious about. If one day do we chase glasses free 3D ever again with like big TV screens in your living room in your living room space. Like, I'm so fascinated if that will ever come about again. But for Nintendo to just take on that idea and do it in a handheld system, I really miss it massively. So yeah.
3DS specifically, I have a couple. So game that I talked about very recently on the show, Wario World, which I said many times reminded me of Super Mario 3D Land with some of those levels. I think Wario World would be a perfect candidate for the 3DS in terms of the perspective that it has on the world, like more isometric view, but also like the way in which you have to rotate the screen view around to do some of those levels, and kind of it is based on like the perspective of where you're landing and some of like the more sunshine influenced levels as well. I think the 3D could be very helpful with that. That's interesting because that's like porting forward, I guess, from GameCube to 3DS, but there were plenty of 3DS games that were GameCube. I mean, Luigi's Mansion was one of them, right? And obviously they did it with a couple of Wii games as well, with Donkey Kong, with Kirby.
They originally intended like the GameCube to have some sort of 3D
you're right, yes,
mode, or I can't remember what it was, but yeah, and that was the idea of Luigi's Mansion.
Well, Luigi's Mansion 1 was originally supposed to be in 3D, right? That was kind of part of the sell of it as well. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Wario World would be really cool on 3DS in that way, and you could do some fun stuff with it. The other one is so I haven't talked about it on the show yet, mainly because it's a pain in the ass to set up every time. The Virtual Boy.
Have you had your fun half hour with it, like all the other reviewers I listened to?
Yeah, about 15 minutes. Yeah. It really good money spent. I will continue to play Wario Land Virtual. I've done 2 levels of it, and then I had to like go lie down, obviously, because it was
really
my brain. Yeah, a little bit. I think what I need to do is take off the red part of the glasses so that it's less like intense with the redness of it, and just play it in like black and white, I guess. But yeah, Virtual Boy Wario Land, come on, guys. Why did they not do that on 3DS? It would have been so much better on 3DS. It would have like made it so much more easy to digest and like pick up and play, as opposed to like setting up this stupid ass thing every time. I actually have not a bad setup for it because I have a standing desk, and so I can adjust the standing desk to the exact height of where my eyes are going to be. So I can actually play it relatively comfortably, but it's not about the sitting comfortability, it's about my eyeballs comfortability, I guess, when it comes to how long I can play Virtual Boy for. So I will be doing more of that, but I just need to set it up and get it sorted in order to do it, and have the feeling of doing it instead of like wanting to go lie down and have a headache, basically. So but it's fine. I think it's worked so far from what I've played, and Virtual Boy Wasteland is very cool. I think it's a cool game. So yeah. I've got a few more, but do you have any, Bally, specifically?
Nothing specific. It's just my overall themes. I really want to hammer home that map point because I miss it so dearly from Wind Waker HD. I just think it was awesome.
Sure. A couple others. I think the most recent, Nama Takahashi puzzle game that I played last year, and seems like the Discord is starting to play now, which is very cool. That game feels like it's at home on a more classic Nintendo console, like a GBA or a DS, handheld in particular, because of the low kind of pixel density and the relative simplicity of it. DS would work nicely because it does have a map screen that is a little tricky to see, although part of the knowledge gap there is not seeing the map all the time, and part of it is like going to these, you basically have like fast travel points, and that's the point where you see the map, and there's no other way to bring the map up during that. So it's interesting because it is part of the design. So maybe GBA would be better because then it adheres to the game design a little more strongly. I think on GBA would be perfect as like a very easy pick up and play, like do a couple of rooms type of deal. It feels very handheld in nature in a lot of aspects. So I think that one would be very good. I think deck builders on Wii U, so like a Slay the Spire or a Monster Train, where you have the cards on the gamepad and you're flicking them up to the big screen. Similar to the way in which, Game & Wario had like the Ninja Star, or I guess that was Nintendo Land did that with the Ninja Castle, where you'd flick the shurikens onto the main screen. Wii U obviously had the quick ability to kind of flick stuff, and just interface-wise, playing Slay the Spire on a controller, like I was mentioning before the break, is a little clunky. Like, it's not as smooth or fast as you would want it to be.
Do you remember Pokemon... What was the game on Wii that was like Pokemon Stadium? Pokemon Coliseum? No, it wasn't Coliseum.
No, Coliseum was GameCube. Battle Revolution?
Battle Revolution had a mode where you could link your DS...
Yes.
And you could see like your Pokemon team and select moves on the touch screen.
We did that, I remember.
Yeah, we
actually did that a couple of times.
I just think the utilization of like touch screen in order to and it would work really well in like a deck builder, like you're saying, or something co-op or versus, where you're on your DS linked to the Wii and you've got your own dual screens. Like you can do so many options for that functionality. Really cool.
Yeah, so I think like Slay the Spire would be perfect on Wii U in terms of just like flicking cards, like very quickly playing cards in sequence and not having to like select this and select that and do it, in a way that could be a little bit more annoying. I think there's a very streamlined way you could make that work. And then this one is obviously not onto a Nintendo console, but I think it would benefit from being on more powerful hardware. I just want to see the Xenoblade games like on more powerful hardware, basically, be it a PC or a PS5 or whatever. I feel like obviously the sense of scale and like wonder and awe that you get is pretty fantastic, even on...
But you get all of that on the 3DS. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you could do that as well. It's definitely a way you could play that game. I think all of those games would benefit from more powerful hardware just to make them shine even more, because they already are very visually impressive on the hardware that they're stuck on. But going to more powerful hardware would be, I think, a big boon for that series, but obviously that's never going to happen. So just have to hope that, I don't know, Monolith Soft probably announcing something this year for Switch 2, I imagine. So
I think their next game on Switch 2 will look fantastic.
I think so.
I don't think it'll look too bad.
Yeah, I think we'll be all right. But we can always dream. Xenoblade 2 got because everything got, there was a recent Switch update that added like a handheld boost mode, basically, where you can play stuff in handheld at a higher power level and therefore make it look much better. Apparently Xenoblade 2 is benefiting greatly from that, because I remember playing that game on Switch 1 when it came out. Muddy doesn't even begin to describe it. It's like, oh boy, that thing was did not look great. So yeah, that's definitely one that is benefiting from that addition. Yeah, I think those are a few different ones that I could see. It feels like it always comes down to like the dual screen stuff, because I think those are the platforms generally that like are more unique. And like, I don't know, for a lot of consoles, this question doesn't make a lot of sense, because it's like, okay, you know, what would you rather play this PS4 game on PS3? No, like it just looked worse basically. So I guess from like a visual art style perspective, you could ask the question of like, what modern Sony game would look good on a PS1? Like I would actually like to see a demake of God of War, like the PS4 game on PS1. That would be interesting, just from a visual perspective type of deal. But yeah, other than that, I don't think, I think Nintendo are uniquely positioned here to have hardware that actually does different stuff. That you could leverage for certain types of games, basically. So, very interesting. Great. Well, I think that's going to do it for emails. Bally, do you want to remind the fine folks at home where they can send those emails to?
Yes, please send them to ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That is ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. We would really appreciate all the emails that you send the show.
Absolutely. You can also hop onto the Discord and post there. And yeah, I'd like to get to your thoughts and questions, etc., etc. Cool. We obviously can be found in various places, and you can support the show in one such place, which is patreon.com/ThisNintendoLife, where you can get bonus episodes and such. And Bally would like to thank some of our supporters.
Yes, thank you to our $10 tier plus patrons. They are Sullivan C, Zach S, Thomas, Matthew, Albert, Wicked Gamer UK Alan, Orange Thunder, Nintendo Man, Turtle, and Ali T. Thank you very much for all your support, and thank you also to all of our other patrons. Ali T sent in some clarification on last time's episode. It is in fact Ali T who is the most consistent grass starter when it comes to Pokemon, not I. I'm a fake.
You're fake. Bally doesn't even remember his own timeline when it comes to Pokemon.
I mean, I do remember my timeline. I just don't remember Ali T's timeline. I remember that, so Gen 3 and 4, I went fire. And I assumed Ali T also had always gone fire, but it turns out he always went grass. So yeah, he is more grass than I. But I'm still mainly grass.
Does that mean in Gen 1 and 2, you both went grass?
Yes.
Damn, dude. Yeah. What a waste. We could have done so much better. We could have traded. We could have got eggs, Yeah. I guess back then, though, I did have both. I think we all had both versions, so it didn't really matter.
We all had both versions. I would normally go like fire on a second version. But you go water both versions.
No. I think silver. I actually went Chikorita on silver, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, the one era where I did have multiple was Gen 2, where I had all three. I had Gold, Silver, and Crystal. And as we've recounted many times, Bally and I would go for sleepovers where we would, on the Saturday or the Friday, I think, we would do one round of mystery gift for every single version.
That's some functionality for that last question, actually, that I'd love to see come back. Like, we could apply mystery gift style infrared scanning between Game Boy colors. Like, that's what you want to see.
It was so amazing. Good. Pokopia should do that, trade some items between games. So we would do every possible combination of each of our games because we both had all three, right? And so we would rotate around to try and get every mystery gift thing possible, which led to us getting pretty much most of them. Like, I had the big Snorlax doll, you had Surfing Pikachu, I had Lapras, I had Onyx, I think, as well. Like,
but what could we then do with our stylish rooms? Do you remember what we
and then of course we would load them onto Pokemon Stadium 2 to see them in beautiful 3D.
Pokemon Stadium 2 in 3D, and
pretty amazing stuff.
That was such a trip at the time. That was incredible.
So we would do that on a Friday night, and then we'd wake up Saturday morning and just do it again, because it was every day basically. So you could do it once a day. So gosh, that was a good time. I remember that very fondly. So but yes, please obviously go and support the show if you're able to, and you can get bonus episodes where we talk about non-Nintendo stuff on that show, as well as other bonus things. you can obviously find us in various places around the internet. You can find us on Blue Sky. I'm at NBZ. Where are you, Bally?
I am at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN91.
Great, and you can also find the podcast on there at TNL Podcast. You can find us in various places as well. You can join the Discord, like we mentioned, but also we have YouTube where we put those up there if you are so inclined to have it on a second monitor and listen there instead. And for all other concerns, go to your podcasting app of choice and download us. We're available wherever good podcasts are sold. Search for This Nintendo Life will pop up and you can subscribe, and it's all good and great and beneficial and wonderful. And I think that is pretty much it for this show. I've got a few things, Bally, that I want to finish before I pick up, like, potentially Pokopia. So I need to be good and not immediately go download it after this episode. Definitely not going to do that. I've got a few things to finish. I'm playing Paranormal Sight still, and I'm playing Shinobi.
The Mermaid's Curse. Sounds good.
The Mermaid's Curse, yeah, and Shinobi from last year, which is also very good. So I'm going to try and knock those out for next time, as well as hopefully try and beat one run of Slay the Spire at the very least. So that's on my deck for the moment. But lots of space, it seems, at the moment for video games. Not a huge amount coming out in our sphere. I don't know. People keep talking about like some Nintendo Direct happening at some point, but it feels like we're out of the window of March maybe at this point in time.
Yeah, I don't know if they've done many at this time of year before. Normally they have a first party one January or February and they announce a few things, and we've not had that one. So can they hold out till June, really? Like,
they did announce Yoshi's release date randomly on social, I think, just out of the blue. They were like, oh, by the way, it's coming this date. So
I think that's a good sign that we're not getting a Direct anytime soon. But yeah,
I think so. I think maybe my hopes of Fire Emblem are a little bit later in the year than I was hoping, because I was hoping for like a July.
How many games have you beaten that have come out this year so far? Just Cairn?
This is a great question.
I'm just on Cairn.
I think maybe just that. Let me just have a quick look here, because I also have I do have a list where I break it down in terms of like new versus old as well for the end of the year. I guess Slay the Spire 2 counts, but it's also early access. No, technically not. But yeah, it's still early access as well, so I don't know how. I don't know, count. It's just a weird thing in terms of like what you choose. Neva Prologue, so that's DLC.
Oh, good shout. Okay,
that counts.
Nice.
That counts. So yeah, those are the only new things really that I've touched. So yeah, probably should get on that and play some new stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to get a bit more into the backlog this year and kind of dig into that. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Play some older stuff as well. But anyway, that is going to do us for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with some more. Until then, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. The musical interlude used on today's show was Withered Wasteland from Pokémon Pokopia. Copyright Nintendo 2026.